We're doing this. Doing it live. And that says we're live. That says we're live. We're receiving. And we're retrieving. Just got to make sure I can see chat. Okay. So, what up, nerds? My name is Lester. Welcome to Your Mom's Basement. And welcome to This Week in Warhammer. Today, I want to talk about the Blood Angels and Dark Angels and their spoilers for this week. Obviously, I don't have Nick with me today, so this should probably be kind of short because there's not a lot to talk about. Oh, hey, what up, Proger Net? How are you doing, my man? As you can see, I kind of figured out how to put chat up, and I'm really... Oh, excuse me, it's that way. I figured out how to put chat up, and that's pretty exciting. All right, so I want to talk about the Blood Angels and the Dark Angels, because we got their spoilers over the last week or so. And, you know, this is going to be exciting. I'm excited. I'm really excited about these codices overall, because you'll see why in these spoilers, but one, they're good. They're good all on their own. And on top of that, they have potential to be really indicative of where the game is going, and I like that. And I like the direction that I see that it's going. You probably hear me clicking, but that's just because I'm having to click between windows here. All right, so we're gonna start off with how these things came up chronologically, as Games Workshop released them on the Warhammer community website. If you don't know, that's where I get most of my Warhammer news. Yeah. So, hey, all right. So let's go ahead. We'll dive in. And, what up, nerds? Oh, hey, there's Nicky B. All right, he is actually here with me, but only in chat. Hey, what up, Nick? What up, Proger Net? Thanks for stopping by as we talk about these things. Let's start with the Blood Angels, and the first thing that was spoiled, and that is their wide special rule, basically their chapter tactic, the Red Thirst. All right, and with the Red Thirst, in any turn in which a unit with this ability was charged, or made a heroic intervention, you may add 1 to its wound rolls in the fight phase. And that's just sweet, right? Especially for a melee-centric army like the Blood Angels tend to be, and it's just cool. I'm a little jealous of it right now, personally, as a Space Wolves player, because I also have a melee-centric army. But that's neat. And if this is going to go like the chapter tactics in Codex Space Marines, which I have sitting right here with me, then you'll see this on infantry, bikes, and dreadnoughts, but not on vehicles other than dreadnoughts. But with how dreadnought weaponry is, this adding 1 to the wound rolls, so even with, oh my gosh, even things that are generally like toughness, 12 or up, these dreadnoughts are going to be wounding them on 3s and 2s. Oh my god, it's going to be amazing. All right, let's look at the first. And also they're adding some stuff, adding some units to the Blood Angels. So we're adding the entire Primaris arsenal to include aggressors and reavers and the like. So like Primaris reavers with Red Thirst, it's really nasty, right? They're coming out of nowhere. They have a lot of attacks, and they're just going to chop you up. They're going to chop you up good, and they're going to chop up something important. And that's the awesome part. I'm going to look at Death Visions of Sanguinius now. This is a Blood Angels stratagem. So for 1 CP, you can take a Blood Angels captain, chaplain, or lieutenant other than Primaris models, and this is interesting, and named characters such as Commander Dante. That model gains the Death Company keyword and the Black Rage ability. So gaining the Death Company keyword adds a lot of interesting like aura stuff for them. Let's take a look in. I have Index Imperium 1 here, and we're gonna take a look at some things that like might help out. Might get helped out by having the Death Company keyword. So let's find. Like, where's the Asterath? So, for example, oh, I guess I can't really find anything at the moment. I didn't do as much research as I normally do on these things for the Blood Angels because I don't really like them. Which I know it's silly. I should really like all of the things, right? I should love all of these, but I don't. I think the Blood Angels are a little silly, but whatever. Anyways, but the important part here, the thing that I think is important, the two things I think that is important here with Death Visions of Sanguinius is that Black Rage, the Black Rage ability, that gives that adds 1 to that unit's attack characteristic in the fight phase if it charged. So your Blood Angels characters, right? Your leadership characters who are going to be giving out auras and stuff, they're going to be even more effective in the charge phase. But it also gives them a 6-up Feel No Pain, which is amazing. We'll see later where that also comes up. Just having the Black Rage ability is very helpful for Blood Angels in general, and has some other far-reaching implications. Lore-wise, this is interesting because it gives... So what's probably going to happen is Primaris Marines are going to have access to the Red Thirst, right? Kind of as like it seems like kind of a social aspect to being a Blood Angel. It makes you just kind of bloodthirsty and a nasty person, I guess, but they don't have access to the Death Visions of Sanguinius. So that means that because Primaris Marines don't really have the same gene seed as their standard Space Marine brothers. I really do complain about Blood Angels all the time. Nick says, hey, I really do. I really think they're very dumb. I really don't like I really don't like them in lore, for reals. But, so this kind of says that they have, the Primaris Marines, this is an obvious indication of their difference from the standard Space Marines, because they don't have the gene seed. They don't have the same kind of gene seed. They're created recently for the sake of the Indomitus Crusade and distributed amongst the chapters by Robute Guilliman. So these ones don't end up having the Death Visions of Sanguinius. They don't have the sort of they don't have the same kind of madness that comes with, or should I say, it comes from the Blood Angels being so emo and so sad that Sanguinius died during the heresy that they go nuts and believe they're him for a while, and then Asterath has to come cut their heads off. That doesn't happen to the Primaris dudes. Okay, next up, Strike of the Archangels. I'm glad to hear that, Project Net, because they're silly. They're just silly. Alright, so next up, Strike of the Archangels. This is a 2 CP stratagem. Use this stratagem immediately after a Blood Angels Terminator unit from your army is set up on the battlefield, and you can reroll all failed hit rolls for that unit until the start of your next turn. So this is good. It's good. I don't think it's great. I don't necessarily think... I mean, I guess it's probably worth 2 CP, because a lot of things have CP recursion now, and we'll see the Blood Angels get a... well, as I scroll down, the Blood Angels get a relic. The most emo of the Imperium. Exactly, Nick. They are the most emo of the Imperium. Seriously. They're even more emo than the Dark Angels. The Dark Angels are pretty emo, but then the Blood Angels, I don't know, I think it's telling that their chapter's logo has a tear. It has a tear on it. Raven Guard are slightly more emo? No way. Get out of here. The Raven Guard are way too cool, Project Net. You stop that. You don't put that evil on me. Don't put that evil on me, Project Net. So Strike of the Archangels, when a Blood Angels Terminator unit is set up on the battlefield, they reroll failed hit rolls until the start of your next turn. Okay, so this is good. Like, it's good. Like, it's good. I don't think it's great, because I think that all the Space Marine chapters have too easy access to their chapter masters, or the chapter master rules, because I'm really sure that, so that's like a 2 CP stratagem for Codex Space Marines, where you during list creation you spend CP and you get access to the chapter master, which lets you just reroll failed hit rolls as opposed to reroll failed hit rolls of 1. So you replace your captain's captain rule with the chapter master rule. So like, I think this is good, but it's really interesting. Hashtag Azrael best chapter master. I mean, that might be true. That might really be true. In fact, we're probably going to take a good look at him in a little bit. So we'll bring that to bear. I might agree with you, actually, even over my beloved Logan Grimnar. Like, I might actually agree with you. So Strike of the Archangels, it's good, and it's probably it does also kind of make a point of the focus of the Blood Angels as opposed to other Space Marine chapters, in that even their Terminators, who are like a defensive unit, at least as the game seems to go, right? They're supposed to be the ultimate offense, right? Like, but they are in game really a good defensive unit. You plop them down on a thing, and then they're hard to kill. But for the Blood Angels, they drop from the skies. Well, they teleport in, and then they start shooting and messing things up. Or if they charge, then it's a horrible bloodbath if they actually manage to make that charge. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's more stuff. Right, we're going to see one thing here that really will help with that deep strike charge problem, but I think we're probably going to see some other kind of stratagem or something similar to the Tyranids, where something that is deep struck will be allowed to move in a weird phase, like in the shoot phase, as opposed to shooting, and that will help with the deep strike melee problem for Blood Angels, because their chapter thing appears to be jump pack infantry, right? Like, that's their fluff, that's their lore, that's what they look like on all of their promo material, except for the promo material featuring Primaris Marines, but even then, the Inceptors, as opposed to the Intercessors, feature heavily in that. So, we'll see some of that. All right, so then a 1 CP, so 1 CP stratagem here for the Blood Angels. Again, we're just talking Blood Angels. I don't know why I keep saying for the Blood Angels. Is Upon Wings of Fire, where you can, and this goes back to what I was saying just 2 seconds ago, where jump packs are their flavor and fluff. Upon Wings of Fire, use the stratagem in your movement phase before moving a Blood Angels jump pack unit from your army. Remove the unit from the battlefield and set it up at the end of that phase anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy model. So they just haul off and jump off. Gone. That's it until the end of the movement phase, and then they drop in where you want. And this is great for, like... Oh, what up, Plunda Khan? What up, nerd? How you doing, bro? We're here in your mom's basement. I mean, obviously not your mom's basement, unless things have really changed around here. But we're here talking about Blood Angels, Dark Angels, and the spoilers for them. We're talking some spoilers. Right, so the Upon Wings of Fire, this is just a great way of getting them out of combat, right? So, as a note, things like this don't count as falling back. So if a Blood Angels, jump pack infantry unit gets caught up in combat, and I don't want to be them there, It's hot today. It's summer in... Oh, you're in New Zealand. Is that New Zealand? Is that what that is? Oh, man. That's really cool. If that's New Zealand. I don't know if that's... I should probably learn more about the world. But I'm American, and geography is we're bad at that. Like... Dark Angels got mean robes. Yes, they do. They do have mean robes. I actually really love the Dark Angel... the Dark Angel look. I really like the power armor and robes and hoods look. But yeah. Anyways, so with Upon Wings of Fire, it's important to remember that when things like a stratagem or a psychic power moves you out of combat, it's not falling back. So even though, jump pack infantry have the fly keyword, and then, oh, dude, I don't know, when is LVO, Progernet? So if you have, your Blood Angels use Upon Wings of Fire to move out of combat, they'll be able to charge again, or charge into something else, or charge, the unit they were fighting before, and we go back to the Black Rage, or, the Red Thirst, right? That makes this a very dangerous stratagem for 1 CP. Now, you still have to try and make that 9-inch charge, and you'll be subject to Overwatch. But, again, I think they're probably going to get some stuff to help with that. And if not, I don't know, cross-chapter, and use some really awesome psychic stuff from other chapters. And we'll get to some of that, too. So yeah, Upon Wings of Fire, really good. Or you can haul off and grab grab an objective with it, right? Like, it's really cool. It's a very cool stratagem. Very fluffy and very useful. January 26th to the 28th. Oh man, you'll probably have your Codex by then, Progernet. In fact, I think your Codex is probably going to come out this upcoming Saturday. If not this one, then the next. I think Blood Angels is this Saturday, and then the next Saturday is going to be Dark Angels. They probably want to have them out by Christmas. And yeah, whew. Oh yeah, we will. Oh man, Progernet, have you looked at the spoilers on Warhammer Community yet, or do you want me to or do you just want to learn them from me here in your mom's basement? Either way, I think this is very cool. It's super cool to have PlundaCon here, tuning in from New Zealand. Oh, that's awesome. I'm feeling good. Today's good. We're having a good night already, guys. We're having a great night. All right, so let's look at they also spoiled one of the Blood Angels' psychic powers. Oh, you've seen them already? Okay, that's fine. Hey, it's cool. Hey, you can chime in with stuff when we talk about it, kind of hold it till we get to the Dark Angels segment of the show, please. But, it's cool having you here for the discussion. You seem to be a smart guy. So, Wings of Sanguinius. Wings of Sanguinius has a warp charge value of 5, so it's a pretty easy one to get off. If manifested, the Psyker gains the fly keyword and immediately moves as if it were their movement phase, and they have a movement of 12 inches. Yeah. Oof. It's amazing. It's amazing. And in addition, you can reroll failed charge rolls for that Psyker. So, yeah. So scary. This is terrifying. This is a terrifying psychic power, in my opinion. Because it says here, in clarification, on the psychic power, this means he can shoot if he fell back in his movement phase. So if you were using a Librarian Dreadnought, he can fall back out of combat, fly off somewhere, or not even, and just get the chance to shoot. And then re-roll failed charge rolls, getting himself with the Red Thirst a +1 to his wound rolls. And it's so... Oh, man. And, hey, why not have him be your warlord and have the Artisan of War warlord trait, right? Where you add 1 to the damage characteristic of one weapon carried by your warlord. So instead of his Furioso Force Halberd being damage 3, it'll be, you know, it'll be damage 4 and a +1 wound. So he's gonna haul off, fly away, just fly away, or fly into your men and charge in with the Black Rage, right? Because we gave him Black Rage with... Oh, no, we can't give him Black Rage with Death Visions of Sanguinius, but hey, that's fine. That's fine, and he doesn't have it naturally. That's okay. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. So he's going to have... I mean, he doesn't have a lot of attacks. He's got 3 attacks, but whatever he's attacking with that is going to be hurt. It's going to be hurt real bad. You know, freaking strength 10, AP -4. Yeah. Or if he just has a Furioso Fist, you know, or you're using his Furioso Fist, I should say, because he comes equipped with both, you know, strength 12, AP -3. And you could have his Furioso Fist be the subject of his Artisan of War, and so he just pounds away with his fist at damage 4. Like, not a lot of stuff will like those 3 wounds. Will like that. No, not a lot of stuff's gonna come out on top on that. Come out on the other end of that attack, healthy and ready to fight. Right? Okay. So let's see, and how about Gift of Foresight? So with Gift of Foresight, it gives your... This is another warlord trait. It gives your warlord a 6-up Feel No Pain, but you're re-rolling 1s. So it's a really good chance for that. However, if they have the Black Rage ability, right? And this is where I was talking before about giving your warlord Black Rage, or one of your characters Black Rage, and then your warlord, if they've Gift of Foresight, now they have a 5-up Feel No Pain as opposed to 2 6-up Feel No Pains. But this 5-up Feel No Pain, they reroll 1s. So they have a really good chance of just not dying due to Gift of Foresight. And that's super cool. Now, let's talk relics, because we're looking at relics. So the Veritas Vitae, right? The blood of life, I guess, or something like that. The truth of... I don't know. If your army is battle-forged and the bearer is on the battlefield, roll a d6 each time you use a stratagem. On a 5-up, you gain a command point. Neat. It's neat. Giving some recursion, some command point recursion to the Blood Angels. Not that they super need it, but it's helpful. And this is interesting because it is different from the Ultramarines Warlord trait, where, excuse me one second, now I have to look at that. So the Ultramarines Warlord trait is anytime you spend a command point to use a stratagem, as opposed to each time you use a stratagem. So the Blood Angels will get fewer bits of command point recursion, right? Because they only can get 1 every time they use a stratagem, but it's still good, right? Or your relic can go to the Standard of Sacrifice, which is amazing, and this goes to the ancient models only. The bearer of the Standard of Sacrifice gains the ability, in addition, so then roll a d6 each time a friendly Blood Angels infantry or Blood Angels biker model within 6 inches of the bearer loses a wound. So then he gives a 5-up Feel No Pain, basically, to infantry and bikers that are 6 inches around him in an aura. And that is amazing. Like, that is really terrifying. I think I have a few bat reps up with Bob playing his orcs, and you can see that the Pain Boy 5-up Feel No Pain gives me a lot of grief. Or excuse me, I think he gives a 6-up Feel No Pain, the Pain Boy. But it gives me a lot of grief and really, really messes with my steez. So, you know, Space Marines having a 5-up Feel No Pain, right? Yeah, especially after, you know, after you've already had to push through their 4 toughness, which isn't super tough, right? It's average, but after having to push through their toughness of 4 and their 3-up armors, or if they're Terminators, right? Like, have your Ancient standing with Terminators, they're just not going away, you know, and that's awesome. It's really rad. Let's see, other announcements for the Blood Angels. Alright, so other announcements for the Blood Angels. They're getting all of the, you know, they claim this is, they're like, new units for the Blood Angels, but really it's extending their Space Marines cross-chapter list. You know, so having the full Primaris set, Inceptors, Reavers, Aggressors. Also, interestingly, more types of Terminator armor. So the Cataphractii armor, which is amazing, with its 2-up, 4. Well, it's 2+, 4++. And the Tartaros pattern armor with its 2+, 5++, but having a 6-inch movement as opposed to a as opposed to a 5-inch. So, you know, Cataphractii armor, Tartarus armor. I mean, they're cool. They're cool, and it also changes up what sort of weapons you can take. With, you know, the Tartarus having like lightning claws as pretty much the only change option for them. But hey, it's cool. It'll work. But the big important thing here from here is another Warlord trait that we have here. Speed of the Primarch. You can always choose your Warlord to fight first in the fight phase, even if he didn't charge. If the enemy has units that have charged or that have a similar ability, then alternate choosing units to fight with, starting with the player whose turn is taking place. And yeah, you know, just this really emphasizes the fact that the Space Marines really want their leadership close by. Hi. So.
I have mail for you.
Oh no. I don't know who found that. Probably.
Definitely Eddie.
Yeah, probably Eddie. So, by the way, guys, Arbiter just showed up. Say hi to the Arbiter, you guys.
Hi, guys.
So, Speed of the Primarch, you can always choose your Warlord to fight first in the fight phase. So this really emphasizes this idea that the Space Marines and Space Marine chapters want to have their leadership close by. And this also makes it very dangerous to go, oh, thank you, charging the freaking Blood Angels when their captain or chapter master or whoever the warlord is nearby, because he is going to come in and he is going to fight first. Well, he's probably going to fight second because it's going to be his opponent's turn, right? But he's going to heroically intervene, but he's going to fight in a weird spot in the exchange. You'll only be able to hit his minions, and then he will mess you up because of freaking the Red Thirst. Now, you know, because he's heroically intervening, and he adds 1 to his wound rolls, and I don't know, Artisan of War. Oh no, that's a Warlord trait, so he won't have that, but he'll probably have something nasty in store for you with his fists. Also, getting at the Blood Angels are also getting access to some of the flyers, Stormhawk interceptors, Storm Talon gunships, hunters, and stalkers. Just upping the numbers of these things that Games Workshop can sell, and making these these non-chapter Space Marine chapters just a little more, I don't know, varied, a little more versatile. That's the word I'm looking for. Making them a little more versatile as opposed to super specialized. I'm okay with that. Now, I mean, like, it's not my favorite thing, just giving them that. I kind of wish that they just completely still had their own things. Sadly, the Hunter and the Stalker suck. I mean, that's fine. You know, things are allowed to suck. Things are allowed to suck. I think those flyers are probably good.
Flyers are always good.
Flyers are pretty much always good, right? And
Hold the high ground.
yeah.
I've got the high ground.
But but you know, what can you do? Not everything's great. Hence why Games Workshop probably is going to put the Hunter and Stalker and all of the flyers into all of the even non-codex chapters, right? We already see it with Blood Angels, and I don't remember if I saw it with Dark Angels, but it'll probably happen with Dark Angels too. And then it will also probably happen with Space Wolves. Speaking of Space Wolves, let's move on to the Dark Angels and their spoilers and how freaking cool they are. Oh my god, they're so cool. I'm going to start with... now, I would have went with this one at the end, normally, because it's dramatic and cool, and I love it. I love it a lot. And it's almost like Games Workshop was like, fuck you, Lester. Because I was saying a thing that has just been completely disassembled by one stratagem, and that is the Lion and the Wolf. You use this stratagem before the battle if your army includes any Space Wolves infantry units. Choose one Dark Angels infantry model and one Space Wolves infantry model. Roll a die for each. On a 4-up, that model suffers a mortal wound, whatever. Each model that survives then increases its strength, attacks, weapon skill, and leadership characteristics by 1. Amazing. Like, oh my god. That's so cool. And it's so within the fluff, because fluff-wise, when the Dark Angels and the Space Wolves get together, they kind of don't necessarily really get along. So when we're on the topic of Dark Angels, your LVO list is gross. I mean, feel free to talk about it there, Projonet. I bet it is gross. I bet it's got, like, way too many Night Shrouds and, I don't know, probably some weird random-ass Space Wolves so that you can use the Lion and the Wolf. At least I would. I would have, like I don't know, a freaking Supreme Command detachment of Space Wolves. Why? I don't know, because freaking Niall Stormcaller is really good.
So,
freaking,
I was thinking after we talked about this morning, though, that this is going to need a rules clarification right quick. Because as it's written now, it almost seems like, hey, I've got a unit of 15 Blood Claws. Let's roll 15 D6, and... yeah, I killed half of them, but the other...
oh, no, you choose one model.
No, you choose a unit.
Nope. Model. Choose one Dark Angels infantry model and one Space Wolves infantry model. Yeah.
Alright, my bad.
Yep.
That's way less exploitable.
Yep. Yeah, no, that would be effing crazy. Yeah, no. Freaking... now, the thing that I really want to note here, which is very important and might kind of slip by, right, if you're not paying attention. Off topic, but that new Sly Marble model, you know what? Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one, Plundicon. Because, hey, also Catachan is a great regiment. I'm having a lot of trouble over here anytime I think about guard regiments. I have trouble not, like, when I'm putting a list together, I have a lot of trouble not just going, okay, all these tanks, they're gonna be Catachan, right? Like, I have to try very hard to not just play with Catachan Lehman Russes and just have, like, tank commanders just re-rolling their freaking battle cannon number of dice rolls, right? Like, it's hard to not do that. I generally prefer Valhallan, just because I really like the consistency that Valhallans get, but Catachans are great. They are just great. I really wouldn't want Kaddish in infantry because, like, +1 to their strength, whatever, who cares, right? Like, I don't care if my guardsmen are strength 3 or 4, but, anyways, so it's 2 spearhead detachments and a super heavy auxiliary. The super heavy is a Knight Styrex, the first detachment at Azrael, and 3 las cannon devastator squads. Oh my god. Progernet. Progernet. Why are you like this? Progernet, why are you like this? Ezekiel and 3 plasma devastator squads and a... Okay, so are you looking to catch... Like, are you looking to get objectives, or are you looking to just table your opponent's Progernet? Is that what you're out for? Are you just here to murder your opponents? Because,
I want to fight it.
Hey, Progernet, come on up. Arbiter wants to fight it. And if you watch the last bat rep, you probably know with what. Wow. Anyways, so the Lion and the Wolf increases your leadership characteristics by 1 for the units that get, or the models that get it. And that is interesting and very cool. Ezekiel and the Styrex are for objectives. Okay. I got you. Yeah. So you have a couple of objectives naggers. Alright. I get it. Okay. So, raising that leadership by 1 doesn't sound super great until you start looking into the Dark Angels a little bit more, and you start seeing how all these leadership things can really... plus, the Styrex, as of chapter approved, can have a 3-up invuln. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. And yes. And yes.
I still want to fight it.
He still wants to fight it. Always. He hears something, he just wants to fight it. Arbiter lives for glorious battle. So, I have here, jeez, Progernet. Man, you scare me. You scare me, Progernet. While I'm thinking about this, sorry, I have to do one more thing because I'm going to add our Facebook in the description. Because Progernet, I want you to send us pictures and such. And, join us on the Facebook, join the discussions, and I want everybody...
Participation.
Yeah, I want everybody to kind of participate. Facebook.com/YMB Miniatures. But I'm going to go ahead and put that in the description while I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm a professional. Okay. All right, let's get back to work here. So raising your leadership, just keep that in mind, right? Oh, you're Miles. Oh, that's cool, Progernet. My bad. All right, so show us some pictures of your stuff, dude. It'll be cool. So looking at the chapter focus Dark Angels that came out today, and which got me even more mega excited, right? Because I love this, right? I've always kind of liked the Dark Angels. Also, as any of you have been paying attention, or been stuck with me in a room with me for more than 3 minutes, knows that I'm really upset about Terminators this edition. Or at least I have been until today, until right now, because yeah, they've been not living up to my idea of what the Terminators should be and should be doing, right up until we look at Dark Angels and their stuff. All right, so let's taking a quick look at the Dark Angels wide range rule, basically their chapter tactic, Grim Resolve. So with Grim Resolve, you can reroll all hit rolls of 1 for this unit whenever it shoots, including when firing Overwatch. Amazing. So long as it did not move in its prior movement phase. All right, so this looks pretty promising for Terminators, who I've already said like to sit on objectives this edition and just kind of like live, right? Just kind of sit there and live through whatever comes their way. And then, in addition, this model can never lose more than 1 model as the result of any single failed morale test. That's cool. That's just cool. They stand there and they will take it. Also, holy...
Commissar.
Yes, Rennie was very upset.
Fantastic.
He was like, oh my god, they took commissars from me and they gave them to different armies. And I think I forgot to point out that these armies can't make 30-man conscript blobs, so I'm not hurt. I'm not upset.
How does it feel, guard?
How does it feel? How does it feel? Random freaking sugar cult reference. Okay, so that's really cool. And is thing 1 on the Dark Angels' emphasis on plasma. So I was wondering to myself, like, what? Because I love, as you all know, I love Hellblasters. I love them. They might be my favorite unit in 40k right now. Is the Hellblasters. Either them or Longfangs, who got a point reduction in chapter approved, and that's Lester approved. So the Dark Angels. One second. So the Dark Angels have the also the. Okay, sorry. They have the stratagem weapons from the Dark Age. This is a 1 CP stratagem. You use this just before a Dark Angels unit from your army with plasma weapons attacks in your shooting phase, and you up the damage characteristic of that unit's plasma weapons by 1 until the end of the phase. This is so freaking sweet and so freaking nasty. Like, this is how you take Hellblasters and their heavy plasma incinerators, and you just turn them into an anti-vehicular menace. And now with the ability to not lose more than a single model from the morale test, that means full groups are viable. They're a viable option. Now, they still suffer from the problem that, you can get a lot of spillover from smite and other sources of mortal wounds. But it's still pretty freaking good. And I'm just flipping through here real quick, through Codex Space Marines, to take a look at the Hellblasters real quick, because I want to take a look at the heavy the heavy plasma incinerators profile, right? With the supercharged profile, they are 36 inches, heavy 1, strength 9, AP -4, and then damage 2. Now that's pretty good, especially when massed up among 10 guys, probably supported with a captain or a lieutenant, right? Actually, you won't need the captain here, right? Because if they're not moving, then they get to reroll 1s anyway. So back them up with the lieutenant, so they're rerolling their 2 hits of 1, and then whatever they're wounding, and they're probably going to get through unless they're getting mixed up by freaking invulnerable saves, right? With that AP -4, they're probably going to wound, and whatever is getting hit by that is getting wrapped for 30 damage. Well, 3 damage for each one that gets through, really, which is nasty. which is, it's just super nasty. Also with the Ravenwing Black Knights and their plasma talons on their bikes. Oh my gosh, so good. All right, then the next one is really cool. The next the next stratagem that's here. Now this is, I don't know how super useful this is. Actually, it's probably pretty useful considering that you can kind of build your force, your Dark Angels force, to be hunting characters, right? So with Hunt the Fallen, at the start of the battle, you spend 1 CP and select an infantry character in your opponent's army. That model is suspected to know the whereabouts of a Fallen, but will not give up its secrets easily. So that model, right, gets an additional 1 to their attacks characteristic, but Dark Angels that target it in the fight phase reroll failed hit rolls. Also, if your Dark Angels are Deathwing or Ravenwing, you get to reroll a failed charge rolls for things that declare a charge against that model. And that's great. Like, that's so fluffy and great, and is a good way to help you get Slay the Warlord, right? Because you'll be able to probably, you have Terminators, because you're Dark Angels, and you have Deathwing Terminators, and they're probably going to jump in a way, or if you want them to, they're going to jump in a way so that they can pounce on this character. And if it's your Warlord, he's going to be a big nasty jerk too, and it's so good. It's so good. And once again, going back to the Terminators, because we keep going back to Terminators when it comes to Dark Angels, because that's what the Dark Angels are. Terminators and bikes. Terminators and bikes. Terminators and bikes and plasma. Terminators, bikes, and plasma. That's Dark Angels these days. And it's so cool. So, the Dark Angel stratagem, Fortress of Shields. So, this is 1 CP, and you use it at the start of a fight phase. And you select a Deathwing unit from your army that contains at least 3 models equipped with Storm Shields, aka your Deathwing Knights, who are all equipped with Storm Shields base. That's what they have. Storm Shields, and I forgot the name of the thing, but I don't feel like opening up the book to hunt it down right now. So, yeah. So, with that, your opponent then has to subtract -1 from all wound rolls made against that unit until the end of the phase, which is amazing. I can't tell you the number, like, just because Terminators are toughness 4 base. Yeah, I see. I've been watching him put that thing together. So, because the Terminators are toughness 4 base, almost anything moves them on 4s, just in general, with 4s or 3s, right? Because it's either going to be strength 4 or it's going to be higher than strength 4, or it's going to just destroy them in overwhelming firepower. Now, if it's going to kill them in overwhelming firepower, it's probably las guns, and then this isn't applicable, but that's fine. This is if you're in a fight, right? You're in a fight, and now suddenly everybody, like your orc horde that's swinging at these guys, is now only wounding on 5s as opposed to 4s. And that is a huge downgrade, right? And on dudes that have 2 wounds, and also, 2 ups and 3 up, like 2 up, 3++, oh, they're not going down. Especially if there's a full group of them. Why wouldn't there be a full group of them? I mean, to avoid getting smited down, whatever. Awesome. So then, Inner Circle. Use the stratagem before the battle. It's interesting to me how many of these are getting used before the battle. And it's kind of like an interesting fluff bit, right? Where a lot of the stuff that's going to happen with the Dark Angels is happening before the battle starts, and it's going to have a huge effect on the battlefield because they're plotting and scheming, and I don't know, just getting in fights with space wolves, I guess. Like, getting drunk and brawling with space wolves. It's a great idea, apparently. It's apparently a great idea. All right, so
Doesn't sound like one.
it doesn't sound like one, but, you know, whatever. It works for the Dark Angels, right? So with this, you spend 1 CP, use the stratagem before the battle, select a Dark Angel's Master, Dark Angel's Dreadnought, or Dark Angel's Land Raider from your army. That model gains the Deathwing keyword and the Inner Circle ability for the duration of the battle. Now, I don't know what Inner Circle does. I've been trying to find it, but I can't. Can't find it. It's not printed yet. And yeah, that's mysterious. But gaining the Deathwing keyword, so gaining access to any Deathwing auras, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Okay. Also revealed a new unit, an actual new unit, called Talon Masters. These are lieutenants in land speeders, lieutenant land speeders. So they gain the tactical precision. You can reroll wound rolls of 1 for friendly Dark Angels models within 6 inches. And then, here's the interesting one. No escape. Enemy units do not gain any bonus to their saving throws for being in cover against shooting attacks made by friendly Raven Wing units that are within 6 inches of this model. So no cover while being shot at by bikers with plasma. No cover when being shot at by bikers with plasma. That's how you die. That's how you die. That's how everything you have dies. That's how stuff gets murdered. Absolutely murdered by this land speeder and its homies. Okay, so now we have some warlord traits to go over. Huntsman. This one's interesting and kind of goes back to and really can mesh well with Hunt the Fallen. All right, where with Huntsman, unless your entire army has a 4++, yes, unless your entire army has a 4++, yeah, or a 3++. But hey, invuln saves, they're tough to deal with. It's just tough to. If your opponent has a lot of invuln saves, then things are bad, and you got to figure that out. I suggest standard Space Marine Psychers. Because, you know, null zone. Make null zones, and then make your opponent really regret not having their invuln saves anymore, or relying on their invuln saves totally. And hey, why not have if they have psychers, or they have a psycher that you're worried about, hit him up with Hunt the Fallen. Now he's gonna get charged and beaten up by a bunch of Terminators, and then you'll be have free reign to have your standard, your Ultramarines, psycher, Chief Librarian Tigurius, roll around and just put up null zones. What?
Apparently the Beyblade just has a single last gun effect.
It's funny. Okay, so Huntsman, your warlord can fire their pistol, assault, rapid fire, and grenade weapons at enemy characters, even if they are not the closest enemy model. So and in addition, when your warlord piles in or performs a heroic intervention, they can move towards the closest enemy character, as opposed to the closest enemy model. So your warlord can just be straight up hunting down the enemy warlord and shoot him out of character. Just shoot him out of a crowd because he sees him. And he might be armed, and your warlord might be armed with the Lion's Roar, which is a replacement for a combi plasma. It's a bolt gun, rapid fire 1 at 24 inches, strength 4, AP nothing, damage 1. But then it's also got a plasma blaster, which at 18 inches of range is Assault 2, making it fire, basically rapid fire, at long ranges. And I don't know, how about when you're targeting your enemy's warlord with it, you hit him up with weapons from the Dark Age. So your warlord probably re-rolling ones or re-rolling hits because he's a captain or a chapter master, or is now firing off at them with strength 8, AP -3, damage 3. And yeah, it's just trying to roast them out of the crowd. I really like a lot of stuff. I like it when stuff ignores or disrespects the character rule. Now, I probably wouldn't take Huntsman as my warlord trait. Excuse me. Because, you know, they also have access to Brilliant Strategist, where once per battle, if your warlord is on the battlefield, you can re-roll a single hit roll, wound roll, damage roll, or saving throw. Just get in one more roll on that clutch roll that's probably gonna win you or lose you the game. We've all been there, right? That one, like, I need a 5 right now, and you just roll it, and you roll a potato, and everything feels really bad. Your life sucks, and you want to go home and cry, but you can't, because if you do, your mom will make fun of you or something. I don't know. But instead, you're a brilliant strategist, right? Which, going back to what I was saying in the bit of how a lot of these stratagems are happening before the battle or at the start of the battle, kind of showing this strategic nature, this secretive strategic nature of the Dark Angels. And yeah, so also this is where you get for the Dark Angels, this is where you get your command point recursion. So if your army is battle forged, which it should be, your army should always be battle forged. Excuse me. You roll a d6 each time you use a stratagem. On a 5+, you gain a command point. Yep. Just getting command points back. Just working on them. I mean, it's an important thing. Now we're going to talk about the psychic powers. So these psychic powers, and this is where this is actually where I would probably be using for my Dark Angels, right? Because this is the sort of thing that you want to be doing with your Dark Angels and your Space Wolves together. And this is where you'll probably want to use Wolf and the Lion, and I would be using it on my Psychers, whatever it is for my Dark Angels. I haven't really figured out who I would use it for my Space Wolves just yet. I'm thinking maybe because I'm planning to use this sort of thing and be very harsh with it and be very aggressive with it. Maybe Ulrich the Slayer, because he comes with healing balms. So even though he takes a mortal wound, if this succeeds with him, now he has he'll just heal himself as soon as the battle starts, right? At the end of my movement phase. Also, giving him a +1 to his leadership makes him a leadership 10. And then because he's Wolf Priest, right? He's the ultimate Wolf Priest. That makes him also a chaplain. So he is also spreading that 10 leadership in an aura to Space Wolves within 6 inches of him. So then it's just really hard to like remove big groups of Space Wolves because they have such high leadership, or even small groups, right? Kind of like a poor man's version of Grim Resolve, right? Is just having Ulrich the Slayer nearby. But the other thing Ulrich the Slayer does if he is nearby the enemy is he lowers their leadership by 1, right? So if you use this here, so if you use the Wolf and the Lion, or the Lion and the Wolf, excuse me, And you have, say, I don't know, Ezekiel? Is that your psyker? Is that your big psyker guy with Dark Angels? You know, I did...
That's their chapter master.
I did a little... You're thinking of Azrael. Azrael's the chapter master.
Biblical names.
Yeah, right? Like, they're really making my life hard by doing this, and I'm having to... Yeah, it's Ezekiel. So you take Ezekiel,
And
right?
Rome.
And so you take Ezekiel and Ulrich the Slayer, and before the battle begins, you have them have a little drunken brawl, right? And then they have themselves higher leadership, right? That will bring Ezekiel's leadership up to 10, which is really great for using Mind Wipe. So Mind Wipe has a charge value of 7. If manifested, choose an enemy model within 18 inches of the Psyker that is visible to him. Each player then rolls a d6 and adds their model's leadership characteristic to their result. So in this case, with just base Ezekiel having had himself a little fist fight with Ulrich the Slayer, he's going to be adding 10 if he passed that 4 up, which he should pass that 4 up. You should try. I would actually even spend more command points to make sure he tried to pass that. So he's gonna roll a d6, add his leadership to that result. If your opponent scores higher, or if they're drawn, nothing happens. But if Ezekiel, in this case, scores higher, the enemy model reduces its leadership, ballistic skill, and weapon skill characteristic by 1 for the rest of the battle. Now, again, this goes back to kind of like Dark Angels hunting specific characters, because you can really dick with a single model like this. But if you, say, do this to an enemy sergeant or their leadership character that's in the group, their leadership model that's in the group, then you'll be lowering the leadership of the enemy group in total by 1 every time you hit them with this. And it gets worse if you keep doing it. Now, you should be killing them probably because you're within 18 inches, but it really messes them up. The only thing I wish this did, which would make them synergize more with Space Wolves, is lower them movement, but, you know, we're not getting that, and that's fine. All right, and then the other psychic power that was revealed was Trephination. Trephination has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, roll 2d6, adding 2 to the total if the psychic test was more than 10. So if the psychic test was more than 10, you get 2d6 plus 2. So then the closest visible enemy unit within 18 inches of the Psyker suffers a mortal wound for each point that the total exceeds their highest leadership characteristic. So what you do is you have Ezekiel and frickin' Ulrich the Slayer have themselves a little fist fight. Pop, pop, pop. Ezekiel's got really high leadership now because it's leadership 10. Have him stand near an ancient just to make it even worse. So then his leadership becomes 11. And then, I don't know, have Ulrich
the warlord and have him have +1 leadership.
Or that, you know. Now you have leadership bananas, right? And then, on top of that, Ulrich the Slayer stands near the enemy. He lowers their leadership by 1. So now you hit them with Mind Wipe. Their leadership is lowered by 2 total. And, I mean, you can also have Lucas the Trickster there if you want. Lower everybody's leadership. Just have him make sure he's not within 3 inches of your Psyker. And then when you fire off this Trephination, whatever just got hit with that is in a lot of trouble. Like, ow. It's pretty nasty. And why not go ahead and use, because this is the psychic phase and this is your power punch. This is your freaking Falcon punch to the enemy. Go ahead and use a command point to reroll to make sure your roll is really nice. Or I don't know if you're a brilliant strategist. Oh no, you can't reroll one of those with the brilliant strategist, unfortunately. But hey. That's, I mean, it's a complicated plan, right? It's a complicated plan that has a lot of variables, but it's workable. And I think it's very workable.
Well, it's honestly 3 models.
And it's 3 models, right? Including Lucas, with the Ancient in there.
To do it perfectly, you want 2 Psychers. You want one that's firing the leadership lowering thing, and then you want to do trepidation immediately on that group.
Yeah.
Before positioning gets fucked up.
Right.
So you have 2 Psychers and you have 1 Space Wolf that's lowering leadership.
Yeah. I had in this case Ezekiel because he can, as the Psyker, because, that's just 1 model. But, hey, you can do it. You can do it with, 4 or 5 models, and it just gets worse the more models that get added to it, right? So you're you have Ulrich the Slayer, he's lowering it by 1. Lucas the Trickster, he's lowering their leadership by 1. And this, I mean, it's just redundancy, but,
Man point is what it's worth.
Yeah, right? Freaking, you have Ulrich the Slayer, Lucas the Trickster, Ezekiel, and then any number of other Dark Angel Psychers, and then, Ezekiel hits him with Mind Wipe, and then it's just trepidation down the line. Bazat, 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 bazat. Mortal wounds and smites, right? So nasty. So nasty. Also, hey, what up, Troll Tolls? What up, buddy? How you doing? Having a good night? Alright, so that's all the spoilers that are out for both Blood Angels and Mortal Wounds. I love it. I love delivering Mortal Wounds. Arbiter hates Mortal Wounds. So, yeah. So that's it for the spoilers from Blood Angels and Dark Angels that are already out. I also picked up the copy of Chapter Approved today, but I haven't really pored over it to talk about it enough, because this was kind of an impromptu day. Was supposed to be doing something else, but it fell through. But still, what this says to me, right, is I'm seeing, there's a couple of unfortunate things that I'm seeing, and then a couple of really fortunate things that I'm seeing. So what I'm seeing is there is kind of a greater homogenization of units being added to the non-codex chapters, right? Because I probably just glossed over it, but the Dark Angels are also getting access to the Tartaros and the Cataphracti Terminators, things like that. I'm not sure they're going to be getting the new flyers. They have a real high mess of their own flyers, so they probably won't be getting the new flyers. But hey, but that's fine, right? So I know I'm not a big fan of the game homogenizing, even amongst Space Marine chapters, right? But what's interesting about it is that what it's looking like the game is that's being created here, right here amongst the Space Marine chapters, at least, right, is a game where things look really similar, lists look really similar on the table, but then they do not play similarly, right? So you have, Grey Hunters and Tactical Marines, right? They're very similar to each other, but they play very differently, right? Especially involving stratagems like True Grit and whatnot. And, your Hellblasters, my Hellblasters are going to play differently, and I'm going to equip them differently than your Hellblasters, because, I play Space Wolves. I am okay with my Hellblasters and my units running around out of cover, because I can just provide it, right? I can just make it out of snow, and we make snow forts as we run, blasting plasma at things. Whereas your Hellblasters, because your Dark Angels are going to sit real still, right? And they're going to blast away with highly powered plasma weaponry without leaving and running out of cover themselves. And I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. Also, you know, I have been saying that it's really difficult to play, like, off-brand, right? But looking at things like The Lion and the Wolf, I was probably wrong. And I'm okay with being wrong about that, right? Because now there's probably going to be... So, Dark Angels, the niche that we have seen from Dark Angels right now is infantry that's very tough. Very tough infantry that's hard to remove because, you know, you're messing with the enemy's numbers and you are really tough and you have you don't break. Your morale doesn't break, so you don't lose a lot of stuff in the morale phase, right? Your Terminators land, they stick, and they're more accurate because they're sitting there, and they're sitting very still, and they're holding this objective. They're holding the line. Tag team factions. Yes, exactly. Tag team factions, right? If you've watched a few of the Bat Reps, you've probably seen me drag some Astra Militarum in with my Space Wolves, which has been actually mostly effective as long as I don't play stupidly, right? But now we're seeing some interplay with the sub-factions of the Space Marines, right? And directly so. Encouraged. Like, it is encouraged by the rules due to the existence of the Wolf and the Lion to have Space Wolves and Dark Angels lists and to utilize them for their individual strengths, right? Together. So, like...
I really hope they do the Lion and the Wolf.
Yes, I also hope they do, like... they do the opposite, right? Like, the Lion and the Wolf is in Dark Angels, and then the Wolf and the Lion is in Space Wolves. I hope they do different things, right? I hope that it's not one of these things where you can be like, okay, so this one unit is going to do, or these two dudes are going to do the Lion and the Wolf, and then the same two dudes are going to do the Wolf and the Lion, and now they both take 2 mortal wounds, but then, like, they're beefed up by 2 strength, 2 attacks, 2 weapon skill, and 2 leadership, right? Like...
can you do 2 faction-specific stratagems?
I mean...
Is there a way to swing that?
Well, that's the question, right? So, like... if there's the Wolf and the Lion, right, and it is a Space Wolves stratagem, right, because Lion and the Wolf is a Dark Angel stratagem, then the fact that you have Space Wolves in there means that you can do the Space Wolf stratagem.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, it is a possibility. I just hope that if/when they do the Wolf and the Lion, they just don't. They don't just.
It?
Yeah, that's the thing I want.
So on the one hand, yeah, they should make it unique. On the other hand, man, if they didn't, it would be really balanced.
I mean, yeah,
it would just be the same thing as
right. Yeah.
I'm okay. Either way.
Yeah, sure. So that's true. But then, oh my gosh, it's so cool. Sorry, I'm sitting here staring at Lion and the Wolf on the screen, and it makes me so happy, just as a player, right? Because, you know, there's basically there's 3 things I really look for in these sorts of things. The game needs to work. Right? I want things to look cool, and I want lists to be interesting, right? And having this interplay of having both Dark Angels and Space Wolves on the table will look really cool. Yeah, yes, exactly. Troll Tolls, if you want to get that boy's soul, it introduces a new type of strat type, right? So now we might be seeing... And in even future editions of Chapter Approved, we might be seeing these sorts of cross-chapter, cross-dynasty, cross-regiment, whatever, cross-hot fleet, whatever stratagems, right? And seeing that is so cool because it adds an even further, like an even deeper layer of list building strategy. Because, you know, you got to take these stratagems into mind when you're building your lists. Things like line break and bombardment, you know, and kill shot. They really want you to end up bringing 3 tanks, 3 Vindicators or 3 Predators, right? And then building your list around that because you're kind of built for this stratagem. And again, just things are really interesting. So, like, you know, we have here these... taking a quick look into Chapter Approved, and the things that the Space Wolves got in Chapter Approved, right? Where we got a Warlord trait that lets our Warlord attack first in the fight phase. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but I now owe Nick $5. I owe Nick $5 because we got an ambush, right? We got something similar to ambush where we pay a CP and we get an infantry unit that gets to outflank, and also a relic that I can't think of the name of at the moment. But anyways, so and True Grit, right? And True Grit. So we kind of have this. It looks a lot like it's really possible to build a sort of tank and spank list where the Dark Angels are there. Outflanking Wolfen. You know, that does seem Progernet. That does seem like the obvious answer, but I don't like it actually because you still have to do the 9-inch that 9-inch charge, and I don't like those 9-inch charges. But I don't know. Outflanking freaking intercessors outflanking, right? Like, or Hellblasters outflanking, or Long Fangs outflanking. I mean, maybe not Long Fangs. Wolfguard outflanking, right? That's where the nastiness is, I think. But anyway, so you have really seems really possible to make this list, these sorts of tank and spank lists, where you have the Dark Angels holding the line, right? Because they are there in their Terminator armor, just getting some and not dying and just not going away, while then the Space Wolves are coming in like a quick reaction force and like reinforcing and taking objectives and just carving their way through what remains of the enemy. And I don't know if you guys noticed just how excited I just got right there, but I want you all to think about that for a minute and how cool that is. It's so cool. It's so cool. Now, as far as what I'm predicting, again, this goes back to me having more predictions because, I don't know, I'm doing all right as far as the predictions go, having looked through Chapter Approved and, you know, thinking back to the predictions I was making with Nick. And, oh boy, was I on a lot. Unfortunately, I was so on one of them that I now owe him money. So, like, yeah, I really like the way this looks to be going, right? Yeah. So, what do you guys...
The Codex.
Right. And so, you know, that's... $5 probs. Yeah, exactly. $5 probs. And I'm made of them at this point, right? And it's even worse, right? Because now, right, and here's where this is also super effective for Games Workshop, right? I have this big shelf, right? This shelf, it's full of Space Wolves. You can kind of see it. Unfortunately, lighting in here isn't great right there. But hey, there's a shelf full of Space Wolves. And now I want to add Dark Angels to it. And that's cool. That's really cool. Because I have incentive to do these sorts of things now, right? Before I was just kind of doing it because I was just kind of cross-factioning, right? Like running off the Imperium keyword just because I was like, hey, yeah, that's neat, right? Lehman Russes, I want them. I think they look cool. But, like, now the mechanics of the game are catching up to my idea. And I kind of noticed before... Well, Rennie helped me notice this. In that, when Codex Astra Militarum came out, where, you know, you cross-regiment play with the Astra Militarum is really good. OGW, making you buy more things. Oh, those jerks. Ah, snap. How dare they run their business? How dare they? Say again?
Unless you play Xenos.
Unless you play Xenos, I guess. Yeah. But, freaking... This... Well, what I end up wanting to do and wanting to see is more cross stuff, right? Like, I want to see people playing, like, Grey Knights and Adeptus Sororitas lists, because that's freaking sweet, right? Adeptus Mechanicus teamed up with the Inquisition, Space Wolves and Dark Angels, and Ultramarines and White Scars, although I really would probably probably run, straight up run, White Scars and freaking Ultramarines, right? And I'd have the Ultramarines are there to, like, do all the real fighting, and then the White Scars are there to just run around capturing objectives, right? Just like, oh, here we go, moving 22 inches, oh, the objective's over there,
yeah, it's nice that the Imperium gets to do what Chaos has been doing for years.
Yeah. Yeah, where we have this sort of, you know, cross-interfaction thing going. And also when it's really fluffy, like the Lion and the Wolf, right? Like, that's so within the lore where, hey, these two factions of Space Marines, they have a really violent sibling rivalry where they'll just beat the shit out of each other before the real fight starts. Right? Like, oh, I don't like you, but then it's like, I'll punch you in the face, and then the other is like, I'm gonna punch him in the face too, and then he's like, no, only I get to punch him in the face. It's like the Empire works together sometimes. Whoa, madness! Yes, exactly, Troll Tools. Exactly. Exactly. I really... Right. So, while 40K still isn't my favorite game, it's definitely up there, right? And GW is doing more things that are bringing it up, like building it up, and I'm really happy with that. So, however, there is some things again that I think are a little unfortunate, right? So they even mention in the Dark Angels spoilers that you know, the Dark Angels are getting, as some of the stratagems they're getting freaking you know, kill shot and you know, flak missiles, you know, just everyday regular Space Marine stratagems, right? And that's fine, and it kind of needs to happen, right? And they're kind of homogenizing the units, but it doesn't make it bad. It's not bad, right? Especially because the strategy that you're going to use them for is way different. Like, I probably wouldn't bring Wolfguard Terminators right now, just as it currently stands. But I'd sure as hell bring fucking, I sure as hell would bring freaking Deathwing Knights. I'd bring them in a heartbeat. They'd be really useful, and probably really cool on the table. All right, so I'm kind of running out of things to talk about here. So I'm gonna cut this here unless anybody has anything else to say while I hit up the outro. So like it if you do, comment if you want. I mean, I guess you're already commenting because you wanted to. That's how this works. This is a live thing. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell icon. join us on Facebook. Links in the description. www.facebook.com/YMB-minis. /YMB miniatures. I don't know this off the top of my head. I really should. YMB miniatures. And have a good one, y'all. Bye.